Hello, I'm Janice Karen, Director of Policy, Technology, and Innovation at the Massachusetts Health Data Consortium, or MHDC. I run our Data Governance Collaborative, also known as the DGC. We start each of our weekly meetings with a series of industry quick updates to learn about new and proposed regulations, laws, standards, industry initiatives, and other activity. Join us for this week's updates. If we'll go to the first update, it's exciting, people. The OMB very silently, without a lot of fanfare, put out the race and ethnicity update that we commented on a year ago. They had been promising this since last summer. It is now out. We have not had a chance to review the final version yet. The two things that I know are included are the two biggest changes in the proposal. That is the combination of race and ethnicity into a single concept, and then the addition of the Middle Eastern and North African major category. So those two changes are definitely part of the final update. It was posted in the Federal Register on March 29th, and we will be looking at that in more detail later on. So any questions or comments other than a big hooray? All right, then let's go ahead and move on. OMB has also put out, they're calling it guidance, but it's really on the cusp of guidance and rules because they talk about things being required in it. So it's OMB guidance on the use of AI in government agencies, particularly around governance, innovation, and risk management. And so one of the things that they're doing is requiring a chief AI officer in every federal agency, and that has to happen within 60 days. We're about 10 days into that 60-day period, so about 50 more days. Each agency will be required to develop an enterprise-wide strategy for advancing responsible use of AI. And then there will be requirements to address both safety impacting and rights impacting. And I think that by the rights impacting would also encompass bias from what I can tell. And so they do a couple of things in that area. They enumerate categories of AI that are assumed to impact these areas. They impose some minimum requirements if folks are using AI tools. And then they have some procurement recommendations around AI that look at those two areas. So you can find the full guidance document at that White House link. Have not read the entire report yet, but it looks interesting. And so even though it's aimed at the federal government, these reports always have things that are useful to everyone. Any comments, thoughts, questions there? All right, moving on to the next item then. Senator Mark Warner has introduced a Healthcare Cybersecurity Improvement Act in response to the Change Healthcare incident. It is basically saying that if you want to put in for emergency funds from Medicare, there are two different programs that will provide sort of an advance payment and then later withhold reimbursements based on what they paid in advance. If you want to apply for those programs and be considered for those programs, you have to require, if you're doing that to deal with a cybersecurity incident, you must have meet certain minimum cybersecurity standards if you were the target of a cybersecurity attack, and that's why you're applying. And those necessary minimum standards will be set by the Secretary of HHS. So you can find some more information, including a link to a draft of the bill. It doesn't really contain very much information. The bulk of the requirements are going to be the necessary standards to be set by HHS. So that would come later. And again, this isn't something that's passed yet. This has just been introduced. But it wouldn't surprise me if they try to move it through pretty quickly, given the visibility of the Change Healthcare incident. Any questions, comments, thoughts there? All right, moving on then. Next item. So CISA has put out a proposed rule on requirements around cyber incident reporting for critical infrastructure. And It basically covers how cybersecurity incidents and ransomware payments must be reported to CISA. It is a proposed rule. Comments are due June 3rd. They talk a little bit about who's covered, and in the proposal, at least for healthcare, it's hospitals with at least 100 beds and critical access hospitals of any size, as well as drug and device manufacturers. They are currently excluding payers, health IT developers, and laboratory and diagnostic facilities. It is not clear to me that these other entities will remain not part of this rule moving forward. And I suspect that's something that people will comment on. But I have not had a chance to look at the specifics of the reporting that they're suggesting as part of this rule. You can find a link to the rule there. As you can see, it just came out a couple of days ago, and we'll be looking at it a little bit further later. Any comments or thoughts there? All right, let's go ahead and move on. I believe that's the last update. If you'll pause there. I hope you learned a lot from our quick updates. If you're interested in finding out more about the DGC and its other activities, email me at dgc@myhealthdata.org. That email address is also on your screen.